And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Winter Ghost. Winter. For remember that I don't actually have dyslexia, but I sometimes will do that where I'll see two words and then mix up the order. It doesn't always happen. So if at best maybe I have a little partial dyslexia. But no, Winter Ghost. What's the question? Who would win a fight? Sasuke Uchiha versus Sephiroth from Final Fantasy. And should note that this thumbnail is from a Homicidal Clown 1992 from DeviantArt. So go look up their stuff. Support the creators. I mean, I could have made one, but one was already made. It seems only fair to give the proper shout out to the person who made it. Now, I've done Sasuke a few times. Sephiroth, I think I've actually only done once. Or maybe not even at all, now I think about it. I know I've done Virgil a few times. I don't think I've even done Cloud. I think actual Final Fantasy characters are a bit more obscure to me. I never really played the games, so my knowledge is limited past what I can look up or past things like what Death Battle did, because they had Sephiroth versus Virgil. Sephiroth. Let me see if I've actually done Sephiroth real quick here. Sephiroth. Have I done Sephiroth? Oh wow. Can't find Sephiroth at the moment. Doesn't matter. I'll look through my stuff later, see how it is. But point being, two swordsmen, they both have abilities. Let's get into it. Sasuke, obviously from the Uchiha clan. When we get to an adult, in his adult years, he's at minimum at a little below Naruto in terms of power, or because he was able to keep training for a while and Naruto didn't, as Okage kind of slacked on his training for a while, Sasuke actually surpassed him overall. Either way, he's always depicted as being equal or a little below or a little above Naruto. He hovers right in Naruto's power range, so it's a good indicator of what level of power he has. Obviously, like any normal shinobi, he has access to a lot of basic techniques, substitution, transformation, the works. He's a master swordsman, but he is missing an arm. So we should factor that in if we're using Sasuke at his peak of power. He is missing an arm at that point. But he's still highly skilled, can move well within relativistic light speed, as he can keep up with Naruto in his sixth stage form, who also moves at light speeds. He obviously said, I can't remember if his sword is dual bladed, but I think it's a single blade. But he wields his sword. Obviously, he's still capable of using ninjutsu to its fullest extent. Well, he can even use it with just one arm, which is actually very impressive. He carries multiple seals on him, including seals on his wrists, and he carries around full with weapons. He's mastered fire jutsu and lightning jutsu, including, things like the Chidori variants, like the Chidori spear, Kirin, which is basically a mass of pure electricity. He's capable of using multiple fire jutsu. Obviously, though, the big thing is his Sharingan, which allows him to cast illusions, see through illusions, basically perceive and predict people's movements. So it kind of gives you a mild level of precognition, but not quite. And copy any jutsu, which would not matter against Sephiroth at all. And taijutsu moves as well, but again, really wouldn't be a factor here against Sephiroth. Then, of course, he has his Mangekyo, or in this case, his Eternal Mangekyo. His full roster abilities include his Amaterasu, which creates flames as high as the sun, and they will basically burn anything to ash, period, and a story. He's able to cast powerful genjutsus, but it's never implied if that's Tsukuyomi, or never implied. It's never confirmed whether that's actually Tsukuyomi or just Sharingan genjutsu. Either way, he's actually capable of casting a very powerful genjutsu with his eyes. And then obviously we have Susanoo, or Susano, depending on your pronunciation, which is a giant chakra construct that he basically wraps himself in and moves on his behalf, and basically allows him to fire chakra or energy arrows, if you will. Also creating a giant blade in its perfected form. He fires Amaterasu off, it gains wings and flies. It's a giant chakra beast, essentially. But there's one step beyond that, and that is it's actually the Rin Sharingan, as it's called, or I prefer Sharingan, because that just flows a lot better. Basically, he has a Rinnegan in his left eye? Is it the left or the right? That one I'm going to look up. But anyway, he has his Rinnegan, and it does give him all the abilities of the Sage of Six Paths. Plus, it gives him a bit extra in terms of an extra ability along with that. The abilities of the Sage of Six Paths it was his left eye. Are as follows. He can do the gravitational forces, including universal pushing and pulling. So attracting things towards them, pulling things or repelling them with Shinra Tensei, and then I believe it's Busho Tensei. But also he's able to do Chibaku Tensei, which is essentially a concentrated ball of gravity, which forces all land mass around it to converge at that point, essentially creating a moon, or at least a very small meteor. But I'd say it's better to depict that as a moon, and it's better. It's used mostly for sealing things in there, and if it's just a mortal person, they're going to be crushed to death. The Azura path allows him to basically create, mechanized weapons from his body, missiles, saws, whatever. He's able to read minds and steal souls with the human path, if I'm not mistaken. The animal path allows him to summon creatures, although we never really see him use that path. The Preta path allows him to absorb chakra, which everyone has chakra, technically speaking. So he could, in theory, do that to Sephiroth. In Final Fantasy, I believe it's materia is used to use magical abilities if chakra's not available. I don't know if the Preta path could absorb the materia from him, but still. It's something that is available. And I could be getting the name of that stuff wrong. I know what it is. I just might be messing up with the name. And am I missing one? It's human, Deva. The Naraka path allows him to summon the Lord of Hell, which can basically suck out more souls, or it can heal someone. So Sasuke is a pretty hacked individual. Like I said, he's comparable to Naruto in terms of power. Although, to be fair, unlike Naruto, who, if he wants to, could go full-on Tail Beast Bomb and hypothetically blow up the planet, or at the very minimum, raise the planet. Everyone keeps saying Naruto is a planet buster. At this point, I'll just give in and agree with you until I can find something that proves otherwise or does prove the point. But for right now, we're going with Naruto as a planet buster, which in theory means that Sasuke is also, at least in terms of power, or comparable to it. It's just that Sasuke lacks a technique that could actually destroy the world, I'd imagine. Unless he does a uber massive Kirin that just engulfs the planet, which I don't think he could do that. Just because of the nature of that technique. Though, hypothetically, he could just use Amaterasu to burn the place to the ground. Should note the Sharingan has one other ability, and that is the ability to transport objects through space, essentially. We see that in the Boruto movie where he and Naruto are fighting Momoshiko, I think is that guy's name. Basically the other Akutsuki guy who was, causing hell. And he basically transported his location from his sword, or then the sword from his opponent. He can think words here. God damn it. He can switch the location of either himself with an object or someone else with an object. So it's a very useful technique. It is draining though, so he can't use it too many times, but he can definitely. But I mean, as we saw in the movie, he used it several times. It is, I think, one of his more draining techniques just because of the level of complexity that technique actually is. Sasuke can also transform himself out of different dimensions with that technique. So it's a very capable technique. Sephiroth is a half human, half alien being who is not always the main antagonist of Final Fantasy. Like there's usually other antagonists within the series, but he's one of the big ones. He's probably the most well known. He's essentially kind of like an energy vampire. He wants to siphon off. One of his biggest plans was to siphon off the world's life force by summoning a giant meteor and basically absorbing it into himself. He wields I can't remember. I think his sword has an actual name, but it does escape me. Again, forgive me. I'm not as big a Final Fantasy guy as many other people, so my knowledge is limited even after looking it up. I will at least get his information up here real quick. Not that it's going to matter. I'm sure people are going to get on my case. Be more prepared, stuff like that. Yeah, well, sorry. But I was caught my pants down on this one, quite frankly. Now, I do want to know, does this sword actually have a name? I don't think it has a name. You'd think a blade that unique. And, it's not even that it's so unique. It's that it's iconic because it's just it's a katana, really, or a kodachi, technically. But it's like 10 feet long. And he wields it just like anyone would wield another sword. It's like, it's not cumbersome at all to use. Nothing like that. He's fast, he's lethal, he's precise with it, and actually makes bifurcating people a lot easier, especially if you spear them, they're still alive, and then you just swing it and just slice them up. Sephiroth's speed and strength are impressive. He's capable of cratering steel just by landing on it, pushing, kicking people through concrete, fast enough to keep up with super speed opponents. Though he himself doesn't actually move quite at those speeds, he's still very fast and has great reflexes. One of the biggest things he has going for him is a healing factor, because he's drawing from he has to cast the healing spells, but he's drawing on basically an infinite amount of like magical abilities from the earth itself to cast a healing spell. So really, he has infinite access to magic, so he can heal indefinitely, hypothetically. He's also master illusion casting, as Death Battle kind of put it, and I did like that. I usually agree about 90% with Death Battle's research. I do think they do good research, but sometimes, not always, but sometimes I don't agree with them, but most of the time I do. And the Sephiroth one I found was a good example of that, where when they're talking about his final attack, Supernova, he's basically casting an illusion to show himself in a different location, where he's actually sending someone into a different dimension to basically incinerate them with a supernova. So it's a very useful technique, and his illusion casting is impressive indeed, where he can just create multiple copies to fool someone. He does have other techniques as well, capable of using things like lightning, fire, earth. I can't remember the fourth kind, but he can use multiple elemental techniques in terms of the magical uses he has. So who ultimately wins in this fight? Well, if these guys met in a fight, how will it go down? I do think that Sasuke would probably be the aggressor more so than Sephiroth, because he, as a trained ninja, he'd want to eliminate the threat if possible. Comes in. Now, in terms of reflexes, these guys are probably on par reflex-wise. And Sephiroth's sword makes for a unique weapon for Sasuke to go up against. The closest thing we have to something comparable to that would be Zabuza's sword, but that's more in terms of length. That's just more comparable to something like the Buster sword than it is Sephiroth's sword. There isn't really a sword that's that comparable, because it's the same width as a katana or a Kadachi, but its length is just absurd. Add on to the fact that it doesn't seem to bend at all. It remains straight, like there's no wiggling at all. Is really interesting. So Sasuke and him will be clash for all that. Luckily, Sasuke's Sharingan gives him an edge in terms of being able to predict the movements. Plus, he moves at a speed comparable to someone like Naruto, which means he's able to pressure Sephiroth and keep away from Sephiroth, playing a lot of back and forth. But ultimately, this is not going to come down to a sword fight. This is going to come down to more of their actual abilities and power. Sephiroth can, anytime Sephiroth's going to get injured, he's going to easily be able to heal himself. That being said, casting illusions on Sasuke isn't really going to work. His Sharingan actually gives him my hair snarled up a bit over there. His Sharingan actually gives him a leg up on illusion casting. So he's going to know when he's casting an illusion. He's not going to be fooled by that. So these two will go back and forth for a while, throwing lightning, throwing fire, throwing earth. No one really getting the better edge over each other. When Sasuke finally decides to ramp it up a little bit, maybe he uses his Rin Sharingan to, teleport Sephiroth's sword out of his hand and then reappear there and maybe stab him. But Sephiroth just grabs him and just blasts him point blank. He's barely able to get out of there. Just pulls Sasuke's sword out of him and grabs his sword once again. Finds the sword and grabs it. These two are going out a bit more. Sasuke decides, I've had enough polarized. Chibaku Tensei tries to steal Sephiroth away. Sephiroth, though, is able to break out of at least the initial creation of a Chibaku Tensei. And at that point, he's just, had enough. And, Sephiroth's biggest hindrance is really his arrogance. And just how powerful he knows he is and overconfidence. That's usually how he gets taken down most of the time. And because we know he can be taken down, he's not invincible. Though the healing thing is definitely a issue here. Sasuke can tell he's preparing a super technique, or what would be his trump card. So Sasuke would go into Susanoo, get prepared, even creates perfect Susanoo, gets ready, and at that point now the supernova gets created. And he realizes that the supernova is coming his way, and he can't take this. He cannot survive this supernova. Sephiroth is now focusing on from the safety of the world, or where he is, focusing on what he did to Sasuke. It's like, now perish from this world. And it looks like it engulfs Sasuke. However, Sephiroth suddenly gets. He's like, what? Sasuke, again, his Rin Sharingan. The Rin Sharingan, I'm saying Rin Sharingan, I prefer Sharingan, quite frankly, but the Sharingan is actually a perfect counter to the supernova. Assuming that is actually what is happening, is that he is taking someone, sending them to an alternate time and space and dimension, and the supernova is going off at that time. But because Sasuke's Sharingan can just teleport him out of the dimension if he focuses hard enough, it's a perfect counter. And then Sasuke just impales Sephiroth, who is now pissed off, but the fight continues. At this point now, Sasuke just has to let himself be skewered, or not skewered, but has to let himself be injured just to get close. So he basically allows Sephiroth to stab him, but he basically makes sure to get it in a non-lethal spot, then drags himself along the blade so he isn't going to get bifurcated by Sephiroth, and then just point blank grabs him and Amaterasu's him in the face for pulling back and having to pull this damn sword out. Using his Susanoo and some of his chakra to keep himself healed up, or at least from bleeding out. Now, here's the thing that I think would be a real question, and I'm going to give you at least my answer on it. I'm interested to hear your answer. How damaging would Amaterasu be to Sephiroth, knowing that he technically has a nigh infinite healing factor? He just needs to draw on the energy and cast the spells to do so. Honestly, because he has to at least spend time to cast the spells, then heal. And even if he has a healing factor, that the heat of the sun, not even Wolverine could survive the heat of the sun. He will be incinerated in the sun. The only reason he technically could live is because of his skeleton. And even then, I don't think that would work because his brain would boil and then he's gone. So you throw Wolverine in the sun. And we've seen some comics where that's happened with Wolverine. So Sephiroth's base healing factor probably isn't anywhere near the level of Wolverine's. With the abilities to draw on the energy and heal from that's a different story, and I would argue maybe the same level, because he could heal from anything hypothetically. But he's going to have to be dealing with the fact that he's still burning constantly, so he's got to try to mitigate the flames while he's doing it, and I don't think he can manage that. Plus, Sasuke can also raise one more Susanoo and then just blast him with an Amaterasu arrow and just basically put a nail in the coffin and just burn his corpse to ash. I think Sasuke wins this fight because he just has more options for battle and the biggest guns in Sephiroth's arsenal are easily countered, quite frankly, by Sasuke. His illusion capabilities have always been touted as one of his greatest skills, and Sasuke's Sharingan is the perfect counter to that. And then his Supernova is probably his most devastating ability. But again, seeing as it looks like it works on the basis of transporting someone to an alternate dimension, Sasuke's Sharingan, Rin Sharingan, depending on how you want to go about it, I go Sharingan. His Sharingan is a perfect counter to that. And we've seen them go up against people, quite frankly, far more powerful than Sephiroth. I would say Madara, not Madara. I know it's not Madara. It's just my damn accent, not accent. My American butchering of the Japanese culture. Madara and Kaguya, they are both lead, and then the other Okutsu we see in the Boruto's movies and series, they are leagues, I think, beyond Sephiroth. Hell, even Obito, especially when he becomes 6th stage Obito, I'd say he's probably beyond Sephiroth too. So yeah, Sasuke's gone up against and defeated, would help, mind you, stronger individuals than Sephiroth. So I would say that yes, Sasuke is going to be the winner here, but I wouldn't say that's 100%. That's a 100% guarantee win. I think there's ways Sephiroth can definitely win because he's far older than Sasuke and has a lot more experience. So that could definitely come into play. Again, very unique weapon that if Sasuke were to even get skewered a little bit, he could easily bifurcate Sasuke. if Sasuke's not careful. That said, though, even in melee, Sasuke's got too many advantages, particularly because he can use fire and lightning just as easily as Sephiroth can. He doesn't even need any external sources, he just has his chakra. And Sephiroth, except for a supernova, doesn't have a way to get through Susanoo. That sword is not going to get through that because it's just a blade. Yeah, you can hit Sasuke with a lot of force, but not enough to get through pure chakra, pure energy, essentially. So I'm going with Sasuke, but again, I can see some arguments for Sephiroth, definitely. I don't go the percentage route anymore, but if I were to give a percentage, I'd say like 85 to 15%. I think there's a solid 15% chance Sephiroth could win. I just don't think it's the likely outcome. I think Sasuke is going to take it. But ultimately, what do you think? You think it's Sasuke? I think it's Sephiroth. Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Magic, what if, anything into the channel. My nose itches. Put in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to that at some point. I'll be back tomorrow with what if and who would win. So thanks for watching. And I got the Anticore video still today, so keep your eyes out for that. Later.